in our nations and on the global stage at large. So this is a plenary session, Netherlands initiatives on green hydrogen, which we are going to be starting. Also, just to mention, after this session, we have the youth session. We've already started with the green hackathon. That's at level 1, room number 6, and the poster session in the exhibition area.
बोलो मेरे राइट लेफ्ट इधर अभी हाँ अरे उधर ही तो घुमा रहा था
Fossil fuel-based capacity installation by 2030, India has set itself on one of the most accelerated energy transition trajectories in the world. We at the Indian Renewable Energy Development Agency or IREDA, Government of India Enterprise, are India's largest pure-play green financing NBFC. Incorporated in 1987 under administrative control of Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, we are a Navratna central public sector undertaking. We are a non-deposit taking systemically important NBFC and have been granted infrastructure finance company status by RBI. We have been awarded AAA stable rating by leading rating agencies ICRA, India Ratings, Brickwork Ratings and Equity Ratings.
IREDA has over 36 years of experience in promoting, developing and extending finance to renewable energy projects and its entire value chain, including energy efficiency and conservation projects. We offer a comprehensive range of financial products and related services from project conceptualization to post-commissioning. As on date, IREDA is the largest pure-play green financing institution in the country.
Our comprehensive suite of financial products includes fund-based products for renewable energy projects as well as non-fund-based products and services. We have financed projects across multiple RE sectors such as solar power, wind power, hydropower, transmission, biomass including bagasse and industrial cogeneration, waste to energy, ethanol, compressed biogas, hybrid RE, EEC and green mobility. We also offer financial products and schemes for new and emerging RE technologies such as biofuel, green hydrogen and its derivatives, battery energy storage systems, fuel cells and hybrid RE projects. We serve as the central nodal and implementing agency for various schemes launched by Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. We have a track record of consistent growth in our loan book and stable profitability in the RE financing space in India. Our loan book has registered a 29% compounded annual growth rate from fiscal 2021 to fiscal 2024. Along with this growth, we have been able to maintain profitability backed by access to diversified and cost-effective long-term sources of borrowing. Our diversified loan book consists of high-quality assets with around 89% secured assets.
Ladies and gentlemen,
around
requesting you all to kindly be
77% of our
seated.
loans outstanding to RE
Please
power
take your
generating
seats. Once again,
projects
a
are
request to everyone, the students especially who are joining us, please be seated at the earliest possible. You're going to be part of another great session which is going to be following this session, the youth session. But please be taking your seats. Please have your mobile phones on the silent mode, on the meeting mode, please. As we look forward to learnings and greater collaborations with the other countries, this is a session, a plenary session 5, inviting Netherlands initiatives on green hydrogen. I invite the distinguished chair of the session, Dr. Abhay Karandikar, Secretary, Department of Science and Technology. Welcome to you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, he has served as a director at IIT Kanpur and also served as a dean, faculty, and head of the electrical engineering department at IIT Bombay. His major work has been in rural broadband and also towards digital empowerment. We are really honored to have the presence of Her Excellency Ms. Marisa Gerards, the Honorable Ambassador of the Kingdom of Netherlands to India, Nepal, and Bhutan. May I request you, ma'am, to please grace the dais. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can have a round of applause inviting the ambassador here. Namaskar. Ladies and gentlemen, in her diplomatic career of 3 decades, she has served in various capacities in various countries and as various ministries and institutions, including the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Environment. May I request you, ma'am, to please grace the dais, inviting our eminent speaker of the session, Mr. Feenstra, the Senior Policy Advisor and Hydrogen International Program Manager at the Netherlands Ministry of Climate Policy and Green Growth. He's working on the hydrogen policy since 2018, was involved in drafting the National Hydrogen Strategy, and is in recent years focusing on international hydrogen policy, including the hydrogen import strategy, and has been working at the Ministry of Economic Affairs in Hague since 2009, in particular in the field of international energy policy. And our next eminent speaker, Mr. Mark Simon Benjamins, welcome to you. He works in the Port of Rotterdam's international team, Netherlands, as business manager. He is responsible for the Indian market. As well, he is involved in the hydrogen and strategic initiatives such as H2 Gether. Among others, Mark Simon covers the POR Oman joint venture. So welcome to all our very distinguished speakers. And I would like to now request our distinguished chair, Dr. Abhay Karandikar, for his opening remarks.
Thank you very much. Ambassador Ms. Marisa Gerards, Mr. Feenstra, Mr. Mark Simon Benjamins, distinguished guests, colleagues from different ministries. It is my pleasure to join you today for this very, very important plenary session, which is going to discuss the Netherlands initiatives on hydrogen. As we transition towards a sustainable and low carbon economy, as all of you know that hydrogen has emerged as a very important element in achieving the global energy goals. As a matter of fact, in fact, my colleagues from the Department of Science and Technology had attended the World Hydrogen Summit 2024, which was held this May in Rotterdam in Netherlands. And we are indeed delighted that a few months later, we have the experts from the Netherlands to share their insights on the initiatives which they are undertaking. We would really like to know what the international partners are doing, because there are many challenges to be solved before we can transition to a fully hydrogen economy, and I'm confident that the collaborations between different nations can pave the way for sustainable and impactful achievements in this sector. I'm looking forward to your participations, and I'm confident that we will have a very meaningful dialogue on this platform. It is my pleasure to welcome all the three speakers on this initiative. I would first like to invite Her Excellency Ambassador Marisa for her opening remarks and a talk. And then that would be followed by Mr. Feenstra and Mr. Benjamin's talks on sharing their perspectives on what initiatives that they are taking in this field. Thank you very much.
Secretary Karandikar, thank you very much for your kind opening words. I'm very happy to be here with two members of my delegation, Mr. Feenstra, Mr. Benjamins. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for being here. It's my honor to welcome you here for our country session. We are here with a delegation of 6 companies. We have experts with us from our ministry. We have a professor from the University of Groningen. And we stand ready to engage, to exchange information with you, and to build partnerships. We think that India is an invaluable player for the energy transition. And as an ambassador, I notice that your fast-growing economy also leads to an increasing interest from our private sector. Both India and the Netherlands were looking for green hydrogen as part of the solution for the 2 countries to meet our net zero targets. And while India wants to become a production and export hub, us, the Netherlands, we aim to become a hydrogen import gateway to Europe. So I think we make a perfect team. In the near future, Europe cannot produce sufficient hydrogen to meet its own demand. And therefore, we look for ways to import significant amounts of green hydrogen. The Netherlands has a lot of knowledge, experience, expertise, and we see opportunities to build an Indo-Dutch green hydrogen export-import corridor. We had already some in-depth discussions. The Secretary mentioned it in Rotterdam, where the World Hydrogen Summit took place in the beginning of this year. Secretary Bala from the Ministry of Renewables, he led a delegation of 15 companies showcasing what India has to offer in the largest pavilion at this conference, and so attracting world's attention. And I'm very happy that this afternoon we will sign our MOU at the Ministry of Renewable Energy to strengthen our already very strong collaboration on renewable energy with green hydrogen as one of the special fields of interest. Now, before we're going to listen to our experts from our ministry and from the Port of Rotterdam, let me share 3 key points from my perspective. The first point is, in order to be successful in building the hydrogen market, we need infrastructure. And infrastructure is absolutely key. In Europe, the Netherlands is leading now, building the necessary infrastructure in order to become this gateway to other countries in Europe as well. And as you maybe know, the Port of Rotterdam is the biggest port that we have in Europe, so that's the absolute wonderful port of entry to Europe. But my colleague, Mr. Benjamin, will share some more words on it. Then my second point that I want to share with you is, now that we are scaling up supply, we need to secure also structural demand as well. We're working on this, and we're looking forward to exchange views on it with people here in the audience, now or later on. Then my third point is, in order to build an international green hydrogen market, we need to team up. It's a global effort, so multilateral dialogue is crucial. For example, we have the International Hydrogen Trade Forum. We, the Netherlands, as a co-chair at this moment, and we would like to welcome India to participate in this dialogue. So let me conclude my opening remarks by thanking you again for your participation in this session. We're looking forward to the discussion at the end of our session, and I understand that we also have some students in our audience, and that's the next generation, and we need the next generation to solve all these problems. So I would really hope and like the students to come on board with a good question at the end. So now it's my honor to hand over the microphone to Han Feenstra. He is an expert on green hydrogen from the Ministry of Climate Policy and Green Growth in the Netherlands. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to be here. Also welcome to be back in New Delhi. I was here in March for the IPHE conference, enjoying the overwhelming hospitality from your country. And of course, now today you're bringing it to a next level. I will share with you some insights actually from the Dutch government, give you a glimpse into the kitchen of our policymakers working hard on hydrogen policy. I think it's relevant for two reasons. Both the Netherlands and India, though different in size, we're actually in the forefront when it comes to both drafting and implementing policies. But of course, part of your policy is also export, and you, of course, are also concentrating on our market. So maybe it's also good for you to understand what's going on in the EU market from the perspective of a country that will be one of the importing countries. Because, of course, we talk about the EU market, but it's very important to understand that each country in the EU has different drivers when it comes to hydrogen. And in the Netherlands, we have three very strong drivers. Of course, first of all, the large existing hydrogen production and consumption. We are one of the biggest hydrogen producers in Europe, per capita even number one, due also to the presence of large refineries, fertilizer producers like Yara and OCI. So this provides an excellent basis for the clean hydrogen market. The second driver is maybe a bit unknown, but this is really important to the Netherlands. We have a large potential for offshore wind energy. And of course we want to and we have to increase the share of renewable energy in our energy system. And if we want to bring this energy onshore, we literally need hydrogen. Simply because in a country the size of the Netherlands, energy transition is not so much about energy, it's actually about space. And we simply don't have enough land to bring all this onshore energy onshore, all this offshore energy onshore, just to land the cables. And of course there are also the issues of cost. The further you go offshore, the more expensive it gets. So there is a very strong interaction between our integration of renewable energy and the capacity for electrolyzers. And this was actually the reason why hydrogen came back on the agenda in the Netherlands. And that also brings us to the third driver. So we need an efficient and affordable infrastructure for energy. And in the Netherlands, we have a very extensive gas grid, being till recently one of the biggest gas producers in Europe. We stopped production from our major field in Groningen, and this allowed us to free some of the capacity of our gas grid. Actually, we have a double gas grid for two types of gas. And we found out we can repurpose this gas grid. And then, of course, you have a very efficient way of transporting renewable energy to the ports and to the industrial clusters. And next to that, we also have the possibility to store hydrogen in salt caverns in the northern part of the Netherlands. So this gave us a very good starting position. And actually, it's not that long ago. It's only about like 10 years ago that we start to realize if we want to increase our share of renewable energy, we will need hydrogen as an energy carrier. And so this was becoming an important topic. And about 4 years ago, our government decided to come up with a strategy. And actually, this strategy was pretty straightforward. It said, in a system, we need another energy carrier. Hydrogen will have to play that role. And as a government, we have the responsibility to put in place the conditions for this market actually ahead of the market. And at the same time taking into account the existing hydrogen market. So that means we had a very clear focus, of course, on the market conditions, on infrastructure, and of course on cost reductions. The next government built on this, because at the time when we wrote that strategy, there was actually no policy and no funding. And now looking back 4 or 5 years later, actually we have achieved quite a lot. The next government provided the climate fund, out of which close to 9 billion euro has been allocated for the stimulation of the hydrogen market. We also secured 800 million euro for hydrogen innovation and technology. We made a big decision on the usage of our gas grid for hydrogen. And from the start, and this is also important to you, we realized that for a country like the Netherlands, which has an open economy, international collaboration is key, and that import will be needed. So for example, we were probably the first country in the world to have a hydrogen envoy, because we had to reach out from the start. And that leads to this picture of what's going on in the Netherlands. So for going from a simple strategy, actually now we are involved in policy in all parts of this chain. Of course, in the first part, we had to concentrate on bringing down the cost and scaling up supply. We have a target of about 3 to 4 gigawatt of electrolyzers by 2030, linked to this offshore wind potential. And we are, in order to reach that, we have already issued 2 tenders, or let's say one last year, 250 million, and in October there will be another 1 billion tender to stimulate production, both for CAPEX and for OPEX. But of course the big question is, as our ambassador rightly pointed out, at this stage, not the supply. The big question is how to make sure that there will be structural demand. And for that we are of course very happy that there are those EU targets and that we have those obligations for industry. And we see in particular, this gives us a kind of a head start. For example, the refineries in the Netherlands, they are in the forefront when it comes to investment decision. But at the same time, of course, those obligations are also, not easy to be implemented. Currently, we are having internal discussions how to do this. We have to take into account there has to be a level playing field. It has to also be in the interest of the existing industry. The hydrogen needs to be there, the infrastructure needs to be there. So we will consult the proposal somewhere in the coming months to see how we can implement those obligations. But those obligations will be crucial, to kickstart the market demand in the Netherlands and in Europe. Infrastructure is key. In the Netherlands, energy policy is pretty much all about infrastructure. And this is actually going quite smoothly. I will address this at a later slide in more detail. At the time when we drafted our strategy, we knew import would be important, but not how important, of course, because then you're relying on the export strategies of other countries. Of course, by now we see that import will become very strong, actually, if we see what countries like India can supply. So this is actually a new factor for European policymakers, how to go about with this prospect of import. And finally, of course, we're also eyeing the power sector, and not as the first stage, like in Japan and South Korea, but in the next stage. And of course, here also hydrogen is one of the options, in particular because we have a lot of gas-fired power plants, and of course, that can go along with blending hydrogen. So this is all work in progress. Of course, the core of our work as policymakers is regulation. We are trying to have a very proactive approach because we are aware that providing transparency and certainty is key for the industry. So we are also always open to discuss upcoming EU regulations with industry, how to make this happen, can this be implemented, what needs to be improved. And of course, we also try to be, as I said, proactive. For example, we already assigned Gasunie to be the hydrogen transmission network operator. And for you, it's good to realize, of course, the work doesn't stop in Brussels. All the countries in the EU need to implement certain parts of those directives, not only at the national level, but also at the local level, in particular when it comes to safety. And I can assure you this work is being done with great enthusiasm, and we are doing our best to make sure that all the regulations will be there in time. Infrastructure is at the core of our hydrogen policy. So we're going to repurpose part of our gas grid. We also will build some new parts. Actually, on the picture, you see our king at the opening ceremony of the construction of a new part of the pipeline starting in the port of Rotterdam. And of course, because we already have this gas grid, I mean the major industrial clusters and the ports, Rotterdam, Amsterdam, but also the ports in the north, Eemshaven, will all be connected. And this will be done by a step-by-step approach, and we hope to be, have most of it ready by 2030-32. And as you can see, it's a pretty affordable way of transporting renewable energy through your country. We also are working on a direct link with Germany, of course crucial also for you, for your export to Germany. And of course, as with many infrastructural plans, prone to delay, also in this case, we are facing some delays because it has to be combined with other modalities. But later on in the presentation of the Port of Rotterdam, we will show you how we are addressing this. And maybe it's also good to realize we're not just working on onshore infrastructure, but we are starting our pilots for offshore hydrogen production in the North Sea, and we're also planning offshore pipelines. And there are quite some initiatives for import terminals, but Rotterdam will also address this in his speech. And we found out that infrastructure really has been key, to mobilize projects. Actually, we never had a lack of projects. I mean, in the Netherlands, it was really bottom up. We were overwhelmed by projects from the start. But of course, the certainty that there will be this infrastructure is really helping companies with their plans. And of course, we very much appreciate the decision of Shell to build this 200 megawatt electrolyzer in the port of Rotterdam. And then, I mean, there are projects in all sectors. I'm showing here some buses, barges. But if you take a look at this map, you can see hundreds of projects with descriptions in English. So this is going, of course, quite well. Of course, not as fast as everybody anticipated, but still, there's steady progress. A big discussion in the Netherlands was also, if we start to implement production too soon, you will be using outdated technology. So we have to make sure there is funds available, to make sure electrolyzers are more efficient, or that there will be other solutions. So we had this 800 million fund to foster innovation. One result of that is, for example, the High Delta Research Program. Also for the students here in the audience, if you want to learn all about how to reuse gas infrastructure you can read all the reports over there. TNO as one of the biggest open electrolyzer labs in Europe, where you can test all types of electrolyzers, also open to collaboration with companies from India. And of course, companies are also thinking out of the box. For example, we have the Betalyzer, a company that has invented a combination of a battery and an electrolyzer. Import strategy is crucial for a country as the Netherlands, not just for our own market, but also to serve the hinterland. Of course, the basis of this is creating this European market. But it's good for you to realize that not all countries in Europe, have a view on import or need import at this stage. So for us, it's really important that we team up with our neighboring countries, Germany, Belgium, to make sure that policy in Brussels takes into account the importance of import. Then, of course, the multilateral dialogue is crucial. So we really want to bring together, as a future importing country, importing countries and exporting countries. So this is the initiative also mentioned by our ambassador, the International Hydrogen Trade Forum, which was part of the COP last year. We had a very successful meeting earlier this year in Rotterdam, and we also indeed welcome India to be active and to be vocal about what exporting countries need. Of course, there are also some issues. One that I want to mention is the choice in hydrogen carriers. So we think it's also important as a government that we look at, from a public interest, at the advantages and disadvantages of different hydrogen carriers. So we acknowledge the important role that ammonia will play, but we also see that at a certain time, with certain volumes in the future, for inland transportation, there might be limits. So we see there's also a need to really identify what can be the role of other hydrogen carriers, the LOHCs, and also the liquid hydrogen that was just mentioned by Australia. Quite some parties are also interested in it. So be aware that this is a topic of discussion also in Europe. Finally, when it comes to specific instruments for import, of course, we are very grateful to our German colleagues that they organized H2 Global, and we have decided to join them. There will be a joint tender to be published end of this year. And of course, we very much also welcome Indian companies to be part of this. We will sign an MOU later this afternoon. I think hydrogen will be an important part of this MOU. And from the hydrogen team in our ministry, we're very much looking forward to this collaboration with India. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think I will now invite Mr. Benjamin. I think we will take questions after both the talks.
Good afternoon, good day. Where are we? Your Excellencies, it's a pleasure to be here. Let me first of all say, it's a pleasure to be here now for the second time in 1 year. And how astounding it is, how quick India is progressing and growing. And I compare this to maybe 20 years ago when I was here as a student. And then I was here again maybe 3 years ago. And it was India, but it's a totally new India. And not only 1.5 weeks ago, I think India took an enormous step forward as one of the very first countries in the world to take FID on a very big project. That it is absolutely a pleasure to be here and to have this conversation with you. Let me explain a little bit about this slide. Yes, the port of Rotterdam is Europe's largest port. We've been doing that. We've been building it up for quite a while, but its success is a function of geography as well. That it's about 45 kilometers long, and for those who, for reference, YouTube educated, that's about 1.5 times the size of Manhattan. The relevance of this is, if you flip that distance thrice, you already hit the German border. That you can imagine, there is one more reason why we're good neighbors. And we move about 40% of Germany's energy needs. And a lot of that is soon to be Indian hydrogen as well. And roughly 13% of Europe's energy needs. We are facing a problem together in the world, like many others, that we need to decarbonize. And Europe has a large industrial cluster, but within Europe, the Port of Rotterdam houses one of the largest industrial clusters that's connected to Belgium and to Germany as well. And our goal is, how can we reduce CO2 more than half compared to 2019 by 2030? Now, we're all doing this, and I think it's a very important mission. And we are trying to think, how can we move a port that houses Europe's largest refinery cluster and associated industries to become greener? And we're organized in clusters, which are very strategic. And for all the students who like Michael Porter and donuting, always good for breakfast, that's the Port of Rotterdam in practice. And we started to have a dialogue, how can we become more climate neutral? And we developed a four-pronged approach, and I could go into more detail, but later maybe at a good point. But hydrogen is very much a part of that. Our goal is to, as a port, to be able to import maybe 25% of Europe's energy need on hydrogen terms. And that means that by 2030 we're looking to import maybe 2 to 4 million tons per annum. That means that a lot of work needs to be done, honestly. And some of it can be produced onshore, and a lot of things are happening. But we can't, as you explained already, Your Excellency, we can't make that in Holland, and you as well, Holland, of course, enough that we need to import. And I believe that we have a strong conviction that India is a very good and successful exporter for that, indeed. What you see here is what we've built, an ecosystem in the Port of Rotterdam. We already put a hydrogen pipeline connecting the refinery cluster and the import, that we're building several import terminals. And joining us are here today 3 terminal operators that are active here. That it's ACE, Chain, and Vopak, who are in the hall here and who will be able to answer a lot of the specifics. But we're preparing to import not only ammonia, as you explained, but as well different types of carriers. And as you can see, ammonia is one of the first carriers that we're going to import. A lot of the producers are focusing on it. But in fact, we have existing capacity already for methanol, for instance, which we need for bunkering. LOHC is a promise, but not in the too distant future. Liquid hydrogen will have an application too. And powders in any form. FYI, we're looking at cracking obviously in detail, and some of the terminal operators are already taking a view on technology such that they are actually preparing the FEED studies at the moment. This gives you a better impression of the import capability that we have, that we already have an existing terminal for ammonia import, but others, among who are in the room here, are preparing solid plans for this. But a very important question for all the producers is, of course, how do you get your goods not only to Rotterdam, where there's a huge demand and where we have a pipeline to these customers, but how do we get it further afield in the Netherlands and Germany and beyond? That's going to be through different pipelines. One is obviously the national grid, which is under development, and as well, and time allowing, we will have a direct connection to the Ruhr area, Germany's industrial heartland. However, at the moment, we already are moving ammonia, and that ammonia doesn't go by pipeline. That ammonia is shipped from Rotterdam via inland water, by barge. And while the pipelines are under construction, which is taking place, and as you know, with infrastructure, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and then 2, and then 3 in some cases even, forward again. We have looked at how can we receive timely and on scale ammonia in a large way. And in fact we can, we realized, because we looked at what does the fleet look like of barges in the Netherlands and Germany, and can it absorb the incoming flows? And the answer is yes. We have enough barging capacity to reach. This, by the way, will be interesting. We have an extensive river system in Europe, and it's employed for containers, for gravel, for anything almost, and including and not excluding ammonia currently. And what you see here is that from Rotterdam, you can sail all the way down to Basel, Switzerland, Strasbourg in between, and in fact you could take a detour east, 2/3 down, and you would hit the direction of Vienna. That we have the capacity ship-wise to absorb the first volumes. We've done a study, can we absorb the thereafter volumes? And the answer is yes, because we're going to expand that fleet. And in fact, already the barge operators, some of them already took FID on, they basically bought new barges without initiative. They just took a view on the situation. And the beauty is there will be an alternative use for these barges, and they provide more flexibility than a static pipeline that you can reach very much anywhere in the hinterland of the port of Rotterdam. That what you will see happening is that you will have a pipeline from Rotterdam to Germany. In the interim, it will reach an inland port in Germany and go into a pipeline. And the third option is it will just go by barge, anywhere you like. And by the way, this is the connection from India to Rotterdam. And as it happens, and that's not my Port of Rotterdam view, but that's sort of booking.com of containers, that outlines what is the fastest and cheapest and most CO2 efficient way of moving cargo. And Rotterdam is very efficient, and hence the connection. Other point really worth mentioning is Rotterdam is Europe's largest bunkering port. We need to be humble about that because Singapore is the world's largest bunkering port in the world. Why is it relevant? It means that there are a lot of new fuels coming our way, and we want to green shipping, and we need Indian hydrogen to transform shipping. Not only for that, we have industry that takes methanol, and one of the world's largest methanol companies and processors are in Rotterdam. That if you're thinking about, to chime what you mentioned, Han, thinking about ammonia, please, as a producer, think about pivoting towards other carriers too, and certainly methanol is one of them. Just to leave you with a brief impression, we are building a pipeline. A hydrogen electrolyzer park is being constructed in Rotterdam. In various ways, we have numerous projects happening, and we're connecting Europe with the ambition to be the hydrogen hub for Europe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Feenstra, and thank you, Benjamin. We have time for maybe 2-3 quick questions. Any? I think you can.
Thank you, excellent presentation. I'm Balsu Lakshmanan, CTO for Versogen. We make anion exchange membranes. My question to you is with respect to all the pipelines that you already have for transporting natural gas. Have you looked at repurposing those or adding capacity from those for hydrogen transport? Reusing natural gas pipelines.
Can you just hold To your mic here.
Oh, closer? Oh,
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. Yeah, my question to you is repurposing or reusing natural gas pipelines. You have a lot of those in Europe, in Netherlands for hydrogen transport, rather than sending them across barges.
Yes, we are actually doing this, and we started a trial with this years ago, using a small part of an existing pipeline. But actually, I mean, it can be done. We are actually doing it, repurposing existing gas grids. Of course, you need to change compressors, valves, but in principle, it's doable. And of course, some parts will be new. But yeah, I'm aware that recently there was some report in the media about, people asking questions about this, but they obviously did not go to the Netherlands and see what's actually going on. And of course, the same will also go on in Germany. So it can be done. And maybe it's good for you to know that we also have someone from Gasunie, the company that's actually working on this, here in the audience. So if you have more questions about this, I can connect you with him.
Thank you. I think you have one more question.
Hello.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. This is Anand Adur from Maharashtra Energy Development Agency. In continuation of the earlier question, I need to know how much % of blending with the natural gas can be presently done with the green hydrogen?
So you talk about blending of hydrogen?
Yeah. Blending of hydrogen with the natural gas.
Well, actually, we're not about to go blending hydrogen. So it's going to be 100% pure hydrogen for those new hydrogen backbone. Officially, for the existing gas grid, we only have very limited space to blend in hydrogen, particularly related because, of course, we don't know what the appliances can handle that are connected to this gas grid. Of course, we know that, for example, in households, you can blend in 20 to 30% in principle. But again, blending hydrogen into the gas grid is not what our policy is about. So we want to use pipelines for 100% hydrogen.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I think we may have one last question, if it is there. Yeah. Where?
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah.
May I have the question, please?
Go ahead.
This side, sir, on your right.
Yeah.
Sir, actually, I'm from Air Products, and as you may be aware, our friends from Netherlands, that Air Products is planning to bring the green ammonia from NEOM, from Saudi Arabia, into Netherlands, and we are building a facility there in terms of import terminal and dissociation cracking to get it back into green hydrogen. So we are planning to, I think, to be ready by end 26 or early 27. But looking at the pace at which the work is going on in terms of the pipelines which you showed, do you expect that the infrastructure would be ready at your end by early 2027? Or what's the kind of target? Because this hydrogen has to flow through the pipeline to various consumers. I mean the green hydrogen, after cracking the green ammonia. So any clue in terms of what's the kind of project schedule that you have on your end in terms of the infrastructure you showed? Thank you.
I think I understand the question. The question is how will your hydrogen reach your customer, basically, right? Yeah. Correct. Yes. Thank you. Okay, I understand. Thank you. Yeah. No. Of course, that's mission critical. The assurance that you get hydrogen to market, and rest assured, we have several pipelines that are under construction and that are in planning. And when I speak with my colleagues at the Dutch gas TSO, the sweat is on their forehead because they're working very hard to make this happen. The message is that while the pipelines are in development, we have, because India is very quick, as you know, that we need to act, and we are. And the way to do that is that we can have barges bring hydrogen or ammonia, in fact, warm and very soon cold, to inland ports in Germany where they will connect with the German gas grid. Now you must know that the Dutch and the German gas grid are being developed hand in hand, but it's a very big project that the Dutch government, for instance, provides a $750,000 guarantee to the Dutch gas TSO to absorb volume risk. The barges will be able to carry ammonia to crackers in Germany, for instance, where it's going to go in a pipeline. Or, a little bit adventurous, but not impossible, people are looking into it, assurance of supply, if necessary, where put a floating cracker at a destination where you may need it temporarily, for a longer time definition of temporary. That, yes, we will make sure that green ammonia and other carriers will reach its destination, because that's what we're about, and that's what we're doing. And we've looked into it, and we found that it's viable.
Thank you. So I think, thank you very much. Let me thank Ambassador Gerard and Feenstra and Benjamin for offering their insights on what work is going on in Netherlands, particularly, as Feenstra mentioned about the targets which were set for Netherlands, the regulatory issues, the status of infrastructure, and also, I think as was mentioned by Benjamin, for Rotterdam to become EU's hydrogen hub, and also the potential for the India to become an exporter to EU and Netherlands. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for participating in this interesting session. And I would like to thank all the speakers as well on my behalf. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much to everyone for this excellent session, further fostering bonds of friendship and collaboration between the two countries. And I would like to request and invite Mr. Marisa to kindly present the mementos to our speakers and to the Honorable Ambassador. The Mission Director of the National Green Hydrogen Mission, presenting the memento, thanking our Honorable Ambassador of Netherlands. Thanks to both our speakers, the session. And thanking the Honorable Chair of the session, Dr. Abhay Karandikar. And may I request you, sir, to please join us for now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be witnessing the exchange of LOI between two companies, Indian company and the Netherlands company. I would like to invite here Mr. Tame Mekes, the Business Development Director, and Mr. Hiran Mehta, the Chief Commercial Officer. This LOI, ladies and gentlemen, a special moment as it stands here, the exchange of LOI between a Netherlands ammonia terminal operator chain and an Indian green ammonia producer, Acme Cleantech. And we have the officials here, present here, the presence of our Honorable Ambassador of Netherlands, exchanging this LOI. Thank you and congratulations. Thank you. And thank you to all of you also for being a part of this session. With that, we conclude the session. Thank you, Honorable Ambassador Ma'am, and thank you to the Chair, thank you to the speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be starting here the youth session. Also at level 1, we have the hackathon, we have the poster session in exhibition hall. The youth session is going to be here itself, so all who are here, the students especially who have come here to be part of the youth session, requesting you to please remain seated. The people who are going to be exiting, moving out, just requesting you to